doubts about
Oh, you
Islam.
have doubts about Islam. Okay. So,
Yeah,
what's
so
the question?
yeah, so did God want everyone to be Muslim or not?
Okay. Did
Okay,
God
so
want everyone to be Muslim? God has
yeah,
commanded everyone to be a Muslim.
okay, so why did he whatever spread Islam in a very inefficient manner?
What do you mean by inefficient manner?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, he
So
revealed Islam
what was
to a
what's your
prophet.
suggestion? Like, how did Allah just explain? If you cannot explain yourself, then I'm not going to talk to you, okay? Because there are other people also, they're expecting an intelligent conversation. And if I cannot give them expect an intelligent conversation because you cannot explain your position, then I will not talk to you because it will not fair to the others.
No, I
Because
am.
this is not just you and me; it's also all the other viewers who are watching. Now you're saying you have doubts in Islam, and you're saying Allah why He did not spread Islam in an efficient manner. So how did Allah spread Islam that was not efficient? And what do you suggest He should have done? Answer this. If you cannot eloquently explain yourself, then I'll take the next caller. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so if God or Allah ingrained the Quran in every person's head so that they would know all the rules, what is wrong, what is right, and everything would be time and age appropriate. Instead, what he's done is pick a prophet, single person, and he conveyed messages to him over a few decades. And then once he dies, then people after him then start fighting over who should take lead. And then, now
So
okay,
let me answer so far that your question. Okay, that you have a series of questions.
Yeah.
Let me address the first question and second question, and then the first question is, why did not God just put all guidance in every people's head, so there wouldn't have been any need for a prophet? So to a certain limit, Allah has given us that because every person knows. Allah has given aql, Allah has given common sense, Allah has given a faculty to judge between right and wrong and between correct and incorrect, which we call aql, to every human being. So, and in Islam, if a person is devoid of aql, then Allah has not obligated him to do anything. Only those individuals who have this faculty, who can judge between right and wrong, between correct and incorrect, who have aql, who have common sense, who have intelligence, only them are obligated and required to obey and to perform, and they will be held accountable. People who do not have common sense, they are not held to any account. So there's a certain amount given to every person. Now, given everything to everyone, I don't think that would have solved anything that would have created problems, because not everybody needs all the information. All of the information
Really?
from the Lord, yeah, everybody does not need it, all of that information. So I, in my personal life, need only so much. Need only so much. I do not need all the teachings, everything about dunya and the hereafter, and about all the acts that I will never perform, actions that people other. For instance, if I never go to Hajj, I never have the money to go to Hajj. I don't need that knowledge to go to Hajj. If I'm never able, okay, listen. If I'm never able to fast, I don't need the knowledge to how to fast. And so that's a problem. Not everybody has that capacity. Second, society needs a structure. We human beings are require in our daily lives to have guides, to live under a leadership. Society people do not just volunteer to be good. If there is no law, and there is no lawgiver, and that law is not executed, and that law is not implemented. So if there is not from the Lord, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an authority to guide and to implement these laws, and because you have given law to every individual, and he knows in his conscience, that does not mean that it will produce the effect that is desired, a society where there's no oppression, there's no abuse. Because human beings are such, we very well know that if people are not forced to and required to abide by the law, they were not going to do it. If there were no retributions, there were no consequences to breaking laws, people will break laws all the time. So therefore, there has to be a structure in the society. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam so as a leader, not only to deliver the message and teach the message, and the imams after him, but also to implement and also to fairly and justly and with equity and with fairness to implement the rules of Allah. And the other thing is that the Nabi and Imam alayhimu salatu wasalam are examples of piety, that these teachings of Islam, they are not mere instructions that can never be implemented and followed. Because if a person, we all human beings, we want to commit sins, we want to follow the path of lust, we want to seek worldly pleasures and wealth, and in that regard, in these endeavors, we do not mind to step on other people's rights and violate their rights. And we see that all over the world. If a person wants to gain wealth, either by deception, by hook or crook, he wants to gain wealth. And we have seen people who have created massacres in order to become a victorious conqueror. So, Imams alayhimus salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the person of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in his example, in the example of the holy Imams alayhimus salam, showed to humanity that they were human beings, they were not angels. That they are examples before you, that everything they preached, they first performed, they first observed, and then they preached. In the month of Ramadan, they fasted. They stayed hungry all the time, and they gave their foods to others, to the impoverished. And all the other values of Islam, they always spoke the truth, never lied. Even when they were poor, they did never steal. So all these values that Islam preaches, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given this information without an example, a practical example of a person who preaches them, if this matter was in every person's mind, who would have followed this? What would have been the guarantee that people would follow and not make the excuse that it's impossible for us? It's impossible for us not to eat in the month of Ramadan, not to fornicate, not to drink alcohol. People would have claimed that there's information in my mind, and I have doubts whether it's true or not, because all these instructions cannot be carried out. Okay?
Yeah, can I just ask?
And then you mentioned that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam died, and people disagreed. That yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if people do not want to follow, and it was not because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not make it clear. It is not because the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's teachings today are not clear. No, even at that time it was clear. It's today clear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us free choice. We are not robots.
Why is there?
So there was, Allah could have created us robots, that there would be no dispute after the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us free will, and He gave us the capacity to either follow the path of piety, the path of virtue, or the path of lust, the path of sin, the path of depravity. And a lot of people chose the path of depravity. That is not a shortcoming in Islam. That is reality of life in this world. That's the wisdom of Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us free choice. And even today, for people who want to follow the path of virtue, path of nobility, path of charity, path of light and guidance, the instructions of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the teachings of Islam are very clear. Okay. Last question, please.
So, yeah, you mentioned with the Prophet being an example. Do you not think it would have been better if there was a Prophet at least in each city or a country, rather than just one Prophet in Arabia who then dies, and then there's all these different caliphates?
And what would have done that? What would that have done? What would that have accomplished?
Well, if you look at the world population, so roughly 8 billion, out of these is 1.4 billion Muslims, and within that number of Muslims, you've got at least 7 million who are a Taliban, ISIS, which you or another Muslim would don't consider them Muslim. And between these Muslims, there's so many different variances. I mean,
so what does it have to do with multiplicity? That would have been even worse if you had so many religions in the world. If you're saying there should be one different religion for every city with a different prophet.
No.
Yeah, that would not have been easy. So the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, look, this world has our solar system has only one sun. It's sufficient for the light. It's sufficient. So every city, every locality, every town does not require its own sun. One sun is enough because it lights reaches. Likewise, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is the son of guidance. He is the source of illumination and spiritual and religious guidance. So his being is sufficient. What you are suggesting doesn't serve any purpose. Okay. If people defy one prophet and they want to follow the path of depravity, it doesn't help if you have more than one. Do you think that would accomplish anything? I do not think so. Okay, brother. Let me take another call. Okay, you think about what, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You prepare, you talk so you could explain yourself more efficiently. Then I could perhaps talk to you more.